are getting a lot more intense.
So we're heading to the hospital.
My outfit.
Oh, man.
You're supposed to relax your pelvic floor muscles.
We're used to it. Hello everybody. This is Alex and William and
Jonathan's not here.
sweetheart Jessica.
Oh,
Our
thanks.
dear mommy.
You included me.
Yes, we have to.
Whew.
That was pretty tough. I was pretty worn out, to be honest.
It's so
that
funny.
hard
Every
work.
hospital video that I watch back of you, you're like laying on the bed, you're like sharing how hard it was for you, and I'm like,
Oh, like
I love you, but
sleep deprived.
no, you did help a lot last night.
You did pretty good too.
Look at that leg. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a cute leg. So we're here to share our story, our birth story, and I mean, it was just beyond incredible. Let's start off from when you were reading the Bible in the morning of like 9 months ago. I'm like, hey, do you see a line? And like, I knew I was pregnant. So he did see a line. The next day it got darker and darker. So that's how we found out we were pregnant. And I was so excited.
And then 9 months later, here we are.
Here we are. Our past experiences was me being induced. And so I've always had Pitocin, always had, you know, some sort of intervention of putting like a bulb in me to have me dilate, or like a pill in me to dilate, and different things like that. Like there was a ton of interventions. No pain medicine, but lots of interventions. And so I've never actually went into labor spontaneously, and that was my goal for this. I can't take you anywhere.
That's why we got boys.
That was our plan. I go into my 40-week appointment. It's 12:41. I'm headed into my 40-week appointment. 40. I am proud of myself for not trying to get induced like I did with my previous ones, but it is getting harder because it's just a mental game of waiting. It's like making me anxious because every hour I'm like, is this it? Is this it? And I've been having contractions for the past like 2 weeks pretty consistently, and they last about a minute, but they just don't get more intense, and then they kind of fade off after a few hours of being consistent. So I get excited and then I get sad. Last week I was checked and I was 2 centimeters and 50 phased. Hope that because of these contractions I am more. So an update, I'm at a 3 and 16 270 phased, which is nice. More than last time. I got another membrane sweep. I'm crampy right now, which is good. Everyone was like, happy due date, and I'm like, yeah, what a great day to have a baby. Having a contraction. Be back. After the sweep, I felt really crampy. I wasn't sure, you know, because I've been having prodromal labor for like weeks. I come home to Alex's parents' house, which she was watching the kids, still feeling like these contractions, not sure if it's the real thing, and then your mom was like, hey, you're gonna leave the kids tonight, and I'm like, really? Like, why would I do that? It was like a really nice thought for me because I'm like, well, it's perfect. We're in town. I was praying that it wouldn't be like in the middle of the night and we'd have to get them up and to drive from birth in the car. Like I had lots of anxiety around that. And so since we were already at her house, this is so perfect. You know, Alex had a meeting that night, so he was gonna kind of stay in town. We weren't gonna rush it. So I'm here walking. It's been a while. It's been like 20 minutes of really intense brisk walking and doing these kind of sidewalk lunges. So that's exciting. Gonna get him out. Gonna meet our little boy hopefully soon. Snowy and beautiful. I'm happy that we were there late. Oh, and parents just finished their job. They worked every single evening, every night. And so this is like their second day off work. That's like another blessing that they were able to not go to work that night. So we stayed there. I decided to go on like a brisk walk, run type of thing. And so I did that for like 30-40 minutes, came home. I started leaking a lot of fluid. I wasn't really worried if I was peeing my pants or not because you're supposed to relax your pelvic floor muscles.
We're used to it. Boys do it every day.
The little ones? Are you talking about yourself?
No, just the boys. And my wife.
Anyway, but the point in labor is to completely relax. So it's not to hold anything back. But anyway, this was my amniotic fluid. It would come out with every contraction. And obviously it broke and I started getting pretty consistent contractions. And so that was around 4 is like when it really started, but I wasn't sure once again. So it was like crampy, kind of lower stomach pains. I got to put the kids to bed, which was another like huge blessing. I just spent individual time with Jonathan, with Sashurichka, and I got to pray with them and sing to them and just do everything normal except at Alex's parents' house. I never walk outside alone in the dark, in the winter. Like that's not me at all. Just got this thought like go outside because Nastia and Vanya were there, mom and dad, like I don't know. It was a nice idea to be active. I've been having early labor for the past 4-ish hours. It's like 8:40 right now. They've been kind of like period cramps, lower stomach, the back, and they come at like every 5 to 7-8 minutes. They've been consistent. I feel like in the zone now. I put the kids to bed, which was so sweet. I called the office and they told me to come in. Now I'm just waiting for Alex to get here because he is at a meeting. And then we're gonna go. It's 9:30 and I'm still on my walk. Just like enjoying all these Christmas lights. They're getting a lot more intense and longer. I feel his head low, very low. So peaceful. I'm so warm. It's just nice. Like God is good. I wouldn't want it any other way. Okay, another one starting. I gotta time it. It was just such a nice time to just pray and walk around and have like that peaceful time. And every single pain, every single contraction, like it got more and more intense. They got so close together. I mean, they were like 3 to 5 minutes apart. And Alex kept texting me like, hey, do you want me to come home? How are you doing? We need to go to the hospital. At that point, I was convinced, but when I was still at parents' house, I was like, oh, this is probably not it. It's probably gonna go away. And I'm happy that they continued. So I did that for an hour and a half. And every single contraction, I kept on walking. I didn't stop because I know that walking helps the baby descend into the pelvis, causing a quicker labor. And I was just like thanking God for it. Thank you, Lord, for this pain, because I've been praying for this to happen. So like I understand that this is an answered prayer and he was with me. A few days ago, what did you read? It was like God's hand will maneuver the baby out of the birth canal. Like he will lead and guide the baby down. I couldn't find that verse, but that thought just like completely stuck with me. So like God is intimately helping me, bringing him down into the perfect position and helping me to deliver my baby, because with Jonathan I was stuck in that very last transition for a very long time because he just wouldn't twist into the correct position to come out. Once he did, he was out. But that twisting, and so for me that was the scariest part of labor for this time too, is will he come into the right position like a key into a lock. He needs to go in the correct way, and helping me visualize that God is right here with me I was praying to him. I was thanking him for each pain. I was relaxing. I was walking around kind of like a... It was probably very weird for the people around, but there were no people, so... It was cold, it was misty, but it felt so good. It was like a perfect environment. I didn't want to stop. Alex was like, let's go.
Alright, December, what is it? 7th? Sweetheart, ты где? Чешечка собирается рожать нашего Вильямчика, она сзади сидит. Чешечка, уже у нее contractions about 3 to 5 minutes apart. Probably more like 3 now. So we're heading to the hospital. May the Lord bless everything.
I only had 1 or 2 contractions in the car, which was really weird because they're usually 3 minutes apart at that point, lasting for like a minute or 2. It was getting intense. So I'm happy that they stopped in the car too. That's like another blessing. So we came here.
Sweetheart, как дела у тебя? Teacher too pregnant. Look at your outwear.
Look at my outfit.
Вот и мы идем рожать. Gotta look at the map.
We went to triage. This is where like my brain is kind of gone. Like I'm not sure exactly what happened.
Same here.
You're supposed to help me.
Oh.
I told him to videotape it all.
No, so we came to the hospital.
Came to the hospital, they checked me. I was at a
5.
4 or 5, that's what she said.
She wanted us to go home.
I was like moaning through the contractions, very consistent at that point. For me, it was very obvious that I'm in labor, that I've been in labor. So she was like, oh, well, I'm not sure if we're gonna get admitted, like, is that what you want? And I was so scared to say yes because I didn't want to be at the hospital for too long to get interventions. But I was very convinced that my body is in labor. We said yes, which is a very good thing, don't you think? Because we had the baby 3.5 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a 4-5, and I got very disappointed with that dilation. In a way, starting to panic, trying to keep it under control, trying to breathe through and relax. It was crazy, but I'm so thankful that through it all, I never lost control. And that's something I did with my other ones, especially with Jonathan, is me starting to scream and, you know, really tense up from my experience that how much that prolonged labor because I wasn't working with my body. We got into our room, started laboring there. They asked if I wanted a IV. Charlie, my midwife that day, told me that I don't have to have an IV. And I was like, what? Like, I've never heard of that. You know, you have a choice.
It's an option. You don't have to have it. So she didn't have it.
But it's routine. They give it to everyone. Like, at least have it hooked up so that if you know, were in danger, you needed fluids, the baby needed something, that they can hook you up right away to it. I know that women have given birth forever and they didn't have IVs. Like, it's okay not to have one. I understood that, but also they kept kind of giving me the risk of, well, if something were to happen, it's your fault and you have to sign a form and stuff like that. And that really scared me because also I'm not the best water drinker, but I'm very thankful that, like, God gave me extreme thirst during labor. So we refused that. We refused the Pitocin afterwards, which is also something that's very routine. They always give that to you for postpartum hemorrhage. So thankful that even though we refused them, like, technically there were our risks of, well, you could bleed to death, things like that, but God just, like, completely, like, to the T, every single thing, almost not real. And at that point, when we got into our room, I already started shaking. I started shaking at the end of labor. I'm only at a 4-5, why am I already shaking? That was really scary for me because I felt like I'm losing control and I needed that. I needed to continue to relax to be able to be done with it. And so we labored for a bit on the bed, on my knees, on, like, leaning over the bed and the toilet, the sink. I would lean over the sink. That was also a time where I started, like, uncontrollably vomiting in kind of, like, I think I vomited 3 or 4 times. This time it was, like, more because I was putting more into my body.
this one. You're gonna be relaxing.
I know that shakes, vomiting, thinking that you want an epidural, and being in a lot of pain, that's all transition. So like I knew that I was at that last spot. So they finally checked me. You know how long it was before I actually delivered? Where she told me I was a 7.5.
Maybe an hour.
Yeah, I think it was like an hour. They were there with me the whole time. Previous times, usually I have like many nurses coming in and out, because I'm there for such a long time, and then they come in, you know, to deliver the baby, but they're not there the whole time. That kind of gave me peace too, that maybe they saw that this was also transition and they're there because they know it's going to end soon. They put up the table. That was like so cool for me, because I'm like, okay, they see how I'm reacting. That means that he's gonna be out soon. Checked me 7.5. I got really sad because 7 is the start of transition, but I've been throwing up chills and all that long before then. So I'm like, oh no, I'm just now starting transition. That means that this is the worst part and I'm still not over with it. Every contraction, I would be breathing and relaxing. And Alex would tell me the same things over and over again.
Relax.
Yeah. You didn't help me too much with your words this time, because it was just like, I love you. And I'm like,
I love you.
love you too.
Doing great.
He would be like, it's almost over. And it's like not even the worst part of the contraction yet. And I'm like, like it's not almost over. I'm not even like done with the worst pain. I'm leaning over the bathroom saying, tell me a story. Like, what did you even say?
Tell her the story of my life.
He was like, when I was a little boy, I like stood and like he didn't even like go on, like I did. That's the only part I remember, but it made me think of Sashuda, so I got excited because I was like, oh, I like that guy. How would you describe my contractions, or like what I was doing during the contractions?
They looked painful.
But did they? Because
Yes.
like for me,
At the end, you were like just rolling your eyes.
my
just,
head.
Like, falling away, and
Were you surprised that I wasn't screaming? I only started screaming when I was pushing. That was my only time.
Yeah, you were doing great, sweetie. You were pretty quiet.
Yeah, I was trying to bear down, to breathe, to relax. My arms were like limp over him. Like I really, really tried to just like
That was the
fall
point I was
into-
trying to get across the whole time. Relax. Relax. The power of motivational speaking.
I wrote him a script of like what he should say during labor,
Said
and
it all.
like the stuff that he should be doing. Like he should bring me the combs. I was emptying my bladder constantly. Another thing that really helped me. They told me to go on like a birth stool, and every time you move into a different position, it gets so much worse. And I knew that sitting on something that's going to relax your pelvis, that it's gonna get so much worse. So I was very hesitant to do it, even though I'm already in so much pain. Deep down, I was like, okay, this is it. Like, if I'm gonna go down into this position, I could have the baby probably soon. I sit down on the stool and I'm kind of like leaning over you, which I was doing like most of the time. I was kind of like on you or leaning over you. And I had you do the hip squeezes too, and that did help me this time. Even though it wasn't for long, because the whole thing was pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
as soon as you sat down on the stool, it was like 5 minutes and you gave birth.
Yeah, and my contractions were back to back. They were very close. They weren't like I didn't have a lot of time between them. There was like a minute between them for like hours. But the cool thing is that this time I didn't even have my contractions monitored. And like sometimes I would have like 3 or 4 minute wait where I would like literally fall asleep on the bed. I don't know if you remember me just like plopped over.
I was falling asleep sometimes when I was holding you. When I was sitting on the bed and you were leaning on me.
Yeah?
Like,
Did you really? That's because it was, I mean, late at night. So sit down. What happens? Oh, I checked my cervix. I still felt like this much away from the baby's head. I thought I was gonna like go there and just like feel his head, but no, he was like this much. So I'm like, wow, he still has to go down so much. And then like with the next contraction, I kind of had like an urge to push, and I'm like, wait, no, I'm hallucinating because I just checked. I have a long way to go. And then like that desire just overtook my body, where it was like, same thing with Jonathan, so cool, because I'm not pushing, like my body is completely doing it for me. It's so intense. That's like when I started screaming, because I mean, hurt a lot. And it's very constant pain. The contractions kind of like, they rise, and then it's like really bad, really bad, and then it kind of slows away. When this pushing phase, it's like boom, 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 boom.
It's like, if you've never experienced it, it's like taking a piece of paper and making a paper cut, but times a million.
How did he come out? Like I remember just pushing, and I was
up.
like,
You were squatting.
I was squatting.
I was holding you up, and then the baby just like started coming out, I guess.
I remember being like basically on the floor. I finally felt him leave, and I didn't even look down. I was just like staring at the people. I'm like it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy that I'm done.
Good job.
Nice work.
Okay, perfect. There you go, Mama.
He's been eating for the past like hour and a half.
You are such a big boy. There you go. Oh.
It was awesome because this wasn't intervention. I was praying all day yesterday after the appointment and stuff. I'm like, you know, the voice of the Lord puts deer into labor. That's what it says. And so I'm like, you can put me into labor. He did. Like, it wasn't Pitocin. It wasn't the hospital. It was him. And it was amazing. Right now I feel great. I mean, I'm taking ibuprofen. I feel a lot like myself. I'm not having these like weird after symptoms, and it kind of felt like a out-of-body experience. I kind of just like viewed myself from the side. I thought that the pain wasn't real. Not that it's not real, it's gonna get worse, so this isn't bad, so just deal with it type of thing. I'm just so grateful for that experience. I didn't rip.
Much bleeding, the baby's perfect.
8, 11, and 21 inches.
Yeah, he's very strong, very courageous, he's not afraid of cold, adapts really fast.
Yeah.
So, if you want to subscribe, hit the button below, click the bell to get our notifications. See ya! благослови, чтобы он вырос крепким, здоровым, умным, сильным, Господь. Я прошу, чтобы Ты его спас, юных его лет, чтобы возродил, чтобы сделал его Твоим служителем для славы Твоей, Господь, чтобы он никогда не сердился проповедовать Слово Твое, Господь. Возьми его в Твои руки. Ты нам дала такие подарки. Дай нам, служу для Тебя. Дай нам силы, Господи.
Thank you so much. Look how amazing my husband is. Can you show our food? I just kept ordering.
Two sandwiches. Ooh, the salad's классненький.
Alexander.
Did you get that on camera?
I did. We're going home. We had to wait for jaundice tests, and everything seems to be great, Sonia.
It's still high, but
It's high, yeah.
it's having the right trajectory.
We're gonna get checked out tomorrow, but we get to go home, and this is his first little outfit. Look how cute. Look how tiny this boy is.
And it is 3:34. We're going home, thank God.
Сашуля, открывай скорее двери! Мама! Поздравляем с бэби вас! Мама, папа! Ой, ты красавчик!
Конечно, можно. Аккуратненько. Ой, ты маленькая. Я тебя мама
Ой, мальчик!